Trump's son, Donald Jr., comes under fire for a meeting he had with a Russian lawyer during the campaign who claimed to have damaging information about Hillary Clinton.
State of emergency. At least 45 wildfires scorching west. Flames shutting down this highway, trapping more than 100 people, including dozens of young campers. Tens of thousands of acres torched and cars completely burned out as firefighters work around the clock to stop the blaze.
Hit and run. A cyclist crushed by an SUV sent flying off his bike as the driver speeds off. A dean of the private school arrested, now facing multiple charges.
And get ready for good news. It's Christmas in July. The secret to scoring massive deals on TVs, tech, jewelry, and more. As one of the biggest sales of summer, Amazon Prime Day kicks off just hours from now.
Live in Times Square, this is GMA with Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, and Michael Strahan.
And it is Christmas in July because Michael is back from his vacay.
South Africa.
Wonderful pictures. Those kids loved it.
Yeah, they had a great time.
But you want to be back for Prime Day.
I want to be back because I miss you too.
Aww. But Amazon Prime Day kicks off today, too.
It kicks off today. It is 30 hours of deals, which, from my last account, is more than a day. It's a day and a
Right.
It's a little bit over a day. But new deals are posted every 5 minutes. And we're going to have more on that coming up.
A lot of people online all day long. Welcome back to you both.
Thanks.
Washington, lots of people are back there as well, the president and Congress, and there are big stories there this morning. President Trump is facing questions about his first summit with Vladimir Putin, even Republicans complaining he may not have been tough enough with the Russian president. And the White House dealing with that revelation that Donald Trump Jr. met with a Russian linked to the Kremlin during the campaign who was promising him damaging information on Hillary Clinton. Jared Kushner, Paul Manafort at that meeting as well. And after the July 4th holiday, Senate focusing again on that health care bill to replace the Affordable Care Act as more Republicans cast doubts on it.
We will have much more on all that in just a moment. But first, our chief White House correspondent, John Karl, starts us off with new questions about President Trump's meeting with Vladimir Putin. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Robin. The president is back in the White House after his second trip abroad, his first face-to-face meeting with Vladimir Putin, a meeting that is raising more questions than answers.
Back at the White House, there's one question President Trump can't seem to shake.
Mr. President, are you satisfied with Putin's answers on election meddling?
The president did raise the issue with Putin, but he says he wants to move on. Tweeting Sunday, I strongly pressed President Putin twice about Russian meddling in our election. He vehemently denied it. I've already given my opinion. So what exactly did President Trump tell Putin about election meddling? His top advisors won't say.
Why would President Trump broadcast exactly what he said in the meeting? Strategically, that makes no sense.
Putin, who unlike Trump held a press conference after the meeting, says President Trump accepted his denial that Russia didn't do anything to interfere with the election. No White House official denied that until this just yesterday from Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, who wasn't at the meeting.
The president absolutely did not believe the denial of President Putin.
The president insists he's acting to prevent future election hacks, tweeting that he discussed with Putin, quote, forming an impenetrable cybersecurity unit with the Russians. Prominent Republicans think that's a terrible idea.
It's not the dumbest idea I've ever heard, but it's pretty close. When it comes to Russia, he's got a blind spot.
There's been no penalty whatsoever. Time to move forward. Yes, it's time to move forward, but there has to be a price to pay.
Republican Senator Marco Rubio is also slamming that idea of a joint Russian-American task force on cybersecurity, saying partnering with Putin on a cybersecurity unit is akin to partnering with Assad on a chemical weapons unit. But it now appears that President Trump is backing away from the idea he tweeted late yesterday. The fact that President Putin and I discussed a cybersecurity unit doesn't mean I think it can happen. It can't. Robin?
And John, in that conversation between the president and Putin, he seemed to point to an apparent victory in Syria over the ceasefire.
Yeah, and this does appear to be an accomplishment, a ceasefire for part of southern Syria that was negotiated in part with the Jordanians as well. That ceasefire, Robin, started to take effect yesterday.
All right, John, thank you.
Yeah, Robin, we're going to move on now to that new revelation about the Trump campaign in Russia. Donald Trump Jr. now admitting he met with a Russian attorney during the campaign, hoping to get damaging information on Hillary Clinton and the Democrats. Both Jared Kushner and former campaign sharp Paul Manafort also at that meeting. Our chief national correspondent Tom Yamas here with new reporting. Good morning, Tom.
George, good morning to you. Let me set the scene for you. At the time, those were three of the most powerful people in the Trump campaign meeting at Trump Tower with a Russian lawyer. Now, Don Jr. says Kushner and Manafort didn't know the substance of the meeting, but everyone showed up.
This morning, the president's son, Don Jr., on the defensive and explaining why during the campaign he agreed to meet with a Russian lawyer linked to the Kremlin, who he says claimed to have damaging information about Hillary Clinton.
Welcome to Moscow!
Don Jr. says the meeting was set up by someone he knew from the 2013 Miss Universe pageant held that year in Moscow. ABC News has confirmed that person was Rob Goldstone, a music publicist with Russian clients who is friendly with Don Jr.
And of course, the big man on campus, Donald Trump.
I was asked to have a meeting by an acquaintance, the president's oldest son saying in a statement, who I was told might have information helpful to the campaign. ABC News has learned the lawyer Don Jr. was meeting with was Natalia Veselnitskaya, who has helped lobby for pro-Russian policies and advocate for them on Russian television. Don Jr. says he asked his brother-in-law and campaign advisor Jared Kushner and former campaign chairman Paul Manafort to the meeting. The meeting taking place in June of 2016 after Trump had clinched his party's nomination.
Don Jr. says he wasn't told the name of the Russian lawyer in advance. And when they met, she, quote, stated that she had information that individuals connected to Russia were supporting Mrs. Clinton. But he says her statements were vague, ambiguous, and made no sense. Then the meeting quickly turned to Russian adoptions and policy, prompting Don Jr. to end the meeting. For months, Trump and his team have criticized the investigation into Russian collusion, repeatedly denying any contact between the campaign and Russia.
Did you or anyone in your campaign have any contact with Russia leading up to or during the campaign? Nothing at all.
In place?
Well, of course not. And I think to suggest that is to give credence to some of these bizarre rumors that have swirled around the candidacy.
I mean, to me, it's without a question, reads and smells like a witch hunt, because I have no other proof or evidence to show otherwise.
But now, new questions about why the Trump team was apparently interested in help from the Russians.
Now, both Don Jr. and President Trump's outside legal team saying the president did not attend the meeting and was not aware of it. We have reached out to Natalia Veselnitskaya's lawyers for comments, but they have not gotten back to us, George.
Okay, Tom, thanks. Let's take this now to the Counselor of the President, Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne, thanks for joining us this morning. We just showed some of those denials from the president, from the vice president, Don Jr., about any contacts. Back in December, you also denied any contacts between the campaign and Russians. I want to show our audience.
Absolutely not, and I discussed that with the president-elect just last night. Those conversations never happened. I hear people saying it like it's a fact on television. That is just not only inaccurate and false, but it's dangerous.
Does the president-elect...
And it does undermine our democracy.
So it did turn out to be a fact. So who misled you, and why did Don Jr., Jared Kushner, and Paul Manafort allow those public denials to stand for so many months?
So as I understand it, George, some of the disclosure forms have been amended since that time and to reflect other meetings, including this one. I think that Tom Yamas, your colleague, put it best. He said that these were vague and ambiguous statements, that Don Jr. was not aware of the lawyer's name before he got there, and that the conversation quickly changed to what seemed to be the entire purpose of the meeting for that woman, which was Russian adoption. No information was received that was meaningful or helpful, and no action was taken. There was no follow-up whatsoever.
By his own admission, he sought the meeting, he agreed to the meeting because she was promising damaging information about Hillary Clinton. Isn't that, at minimum, an attempt at collusion?
No, and your colleague, Cecilia Vega, even said yesterday, as others responsible people have said, including members of the Obama administration under oath, There's no evidence of collusion. We're constantly talking about
actually, I have
collusion
to
that
stop
doesn't
you right
exist.
there because, Kellyanne, that is not what Cecilia Vega said. Cecilia Vega was asked about that yesterday morning. That was before Don Jr. admitted that he sought the meeting to get damaging information on Hillary Clinton. That was when Don Jr.'s statement was simply that this was a meeting about adoption. That changed in the previous hours when he changed his story.
And are you saying that there's evidence of collusion? Because everybody's trying to convert wishful thinking into hard evidence, and they haven't been able to do that. Let me get back to what you asked me about this meeting. I don't think you had to go very far, respectfully, to find damaging information or negative information about Hillary Clinton. She was a gusher at all times of negative, damaging information. Your own polling showed that a majority of the country didn't trust her at the time, that she had no honesty and integrity. I didn't have to look far as the campaign manager starting the next month to find damaging information. We would just quote her. People admit now she lit $1.2 billion on fire. She had no message that connected to America the way Donald Trump did. So there's no evidence of collusion.
You're changing the subject here. Let's go back to the original question.
No, I'm not. This is the subject. Is there collusion? Yes or no?
Number one, why did the administration allow these denials to stand for so many months?
People involved in the meeting could answer those questions better for you. But as I understand it, George, people's disclosure statements have been amended to reflect meetings such as this. And Don Jr. came forth this weekend and gave more information about the meeting. He also made very clear
after denying
that
it,
no information that was meaningful and helpful was gained from this. We have many different meetings in a campaign. Some of them are unhelpful and not particularly meaningful. But I'm sure you can relate to that.
But Kellyanne, that's beside the point. He was seeking the information. He was seeking the damaging information. That's why he had the meeting. How is that appropriate?
George, he was told that there would be information that may be helpful to the campaign. There was no such information. But again, I want to ask you a question. If we're going to keep using the word collusion, where is the evidence of collusion? What just happened last week is that you had Putin and Trump had a conversation. That's meaningful. They brokered a ceasefire in part of Syria. They talked about cybersecurity. The first order of business for President Trump that he pressed Putin on was interference in the election, meddling in the election. Exactly what many in the media said would never happen. The president made it the top priority and reportedly pressed him several times. So the conversation's real, the collusion's not.
We know from Don Jr.'s own admission that he sought the meeting with the Russian because she would provide damaging information with Hillary Clinton. How can you say that is not at least an attempt at working with the Russians to hurt the Clinton campaign to help the Trump campaign?
Two quick things. He did not seek the meeting. If you look at his statement, he said that the meeting was requested of him and he agreed to the meeting. That's different.
Because she was going to give damaging
Secondly,
information about Hillary Clinton.
He didn't even know her name, though, George. He had no idea who this person was until she entered the room. He said that also in his statement.
But he believed she was bringing damaging information about Hillary Clinton. That's why he agreed to the meeting by his own admission.
She didn't have it. Look, the only information, the only people who had information about Russia meddling in, say, summer of 2016, did not work in the Trump campaign. They worked in the Obama White House. They were briefed, according to the Washington Post, about this kind of information and did absolutely nothing because they never thought Donald Trump would win. Number two, no meaningful information was received, no action was taken. When I became campaign manager, nobody said, oh, we have to turn over this file to you of this fabulous information. There's nothing like that. We were talking to people in Michigan, not Moscow. And I think it's important for people to know that.
Kellyanne, we have to go. The information was sought from the campaign, and those denials were allowed to stand for many months. That's the bottom line. Thanks very much for your time this morning.
I wasn't in the meeting. I wasn't in the meeting, but people amended their disclosure forms, and I think the big bombshell this morning is Jim Comey disclosing confidential information, conversations he had with the President of the United States in his, quote, private memos. That's something Americans should really focus on.
Kellyanne Conway, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Michael?
All right, thank you, George. And we're going to turn now to those devastating wildfires out west, forcing thousands to evacuate, including kids at a summer camp. ABC's Matt Gutman is in California, where some 5,000 firefighters are bravely battling the flames. Good morning, Matt.
Hey, good morning, Michael. The air here is still thick with smoke, and I want to give you a sense of the urgency here for firefighters. This whole area is filled with dozens of summer camps. This was one of them. This was a bunkhouse, and I want you to see this charred, twisted piece of metal right here. That was a bunk bed. Now, all the kids were evacuated safely from here, but this morning there are still thousands who are displaced. This morning, those wildfires roaring across California, forcing about 8,000 evacuations. Emergency crews sending an air assault from the sky, dropping flame retardant, hoping to stop multiple fast-moving blazes. The Alamo fire, the largest fire currently burning in California, blowing up to nearly 24,000 acres on Sunday. That's almost twice the size of Manhattan. Here in Santa Barbara, more than 3,500 fleeing the Whittier fire, some of them through fire-clogged Route 154. That blaze now blanketing over 7,800 acres and is only 5% contained. This time-lapse video showing just how quickly it's tearing across the county. The fire started Saturday morning, shutting down both sides of a major highway, temporarily trapping nearly 90 campers and 50 counselors at a nearby ranch.
They were trapped because the road was completely enveloped in flame, and there were trees falling down across the road, and there was really just no way to get them out of there.
We traveled to what used to be a camp near the area, now reduced to rubble. The scene apocalyptic. Cars turned into husks of metal.
It's devastating looking at all this.
The camp director's husband driving us to her home on site, but when we arrived...
We've been here for 12 years, and this is all that's left.
The structure completely destroyed. Now, the governor has declared a state of emergency, and the heat that has fueled these fires supposed to stick around. Now, the stakes are still high for firefighters here. The fire's burning right near peaks that hold critical electrical infrastructure that could threaten electricity in major cities here like Santa Barbara. Michael.
All right, some devastating images to see, and thank you very much, Matt. And now Amy is joining us with the morning's other top stories, starting with some delays for the morning commuter, Amy.
That's right. A major rail shutdown here in New York is affecting commuters along the East Coast. Extensive renovations and repairs are beginning today at Penn Station following 3 derailments in recent months. About 1/4 of the station's tracks will be shut down for that work, which is expected to last until September. Well, a U.S. Army soldier is in custody accused of fatally shooting a New York State trooper. Police say the trooper was responding to a domestic dispute at the soldier's home near the Canadian border when shots were fired. The suspect's wife was also found dead. No word what led to that dispute. And some pretty shocking video from Tennessee showing the moment. Look at that. Woo, a biker was hit on the side of the road, and then you see the driver of that black Volvo taking off from the scene right there. Well, the driver has now been identified as a dean at a local private school. He could now face federal charges. The biker is recovering from cuts and bruises. And I don't know if you can imagine this, but it happened to someone waking up with your head inside a bear's mouth. Yeah, Dylan, this camp counselor in Colorado, says he was attacked at 4 a.m. He was in his sleeping bag when the bear clamped down on his head and then dragged him out of that sleeping bag 12 feet. But other than needing 9 staples to close up those cuts, Dylan is remarkably okay. He's already back at work. It was his co-workers, his other counselors, who started beating back the bear and punching him. And it was incredible, yes. And they said it's very unusual for a black bear to behave like this, but it happened, and thank goodness he's alive to tell us.
Thank goodness for that. All right, Amy. Let's go to Rob now with more on those wildfires and record heat.
Hey, Robin, 6 wildfires ignited this weekend in Nevada because of lightning, so that's another issue. We've got some monsoon flow getting into here, but the record heat, look at these numbers over the weekend. On 112 in Woodland Hills, LA, 98 degrees. We still have red flag warnings that are posted for inland areas here, gusty winds and dry levels of humidity, and the heat finally shifting to the east, but still toasty out west. Time now for your Select Cities, brought to you by Celebrity Mutual.
You totaled your brand new car. Nobody's hurt, but there will still be pain. It comes when your insurance company says they'll only pay 3/4 of what it takes to replace it. What are you supposed to do, drive 3/4 of a car? Now, if you had Liberty Mutual new car replacement, you'd get your whole car back. I guess they don't want you driving around on 3 wheels. Smart.
With Liberty Mutual new car replacement, we'll replace the full value of your car. Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Good morning. It's 7:19. I'm meteorologist Bill Evans, and we've got a beauty of a day in progress. 71 degrees, clear skies, calm wind. 64 Comac and Merrick, and 74 around Roslyn. That's the warm spot. 68 around Newark, and 61 Poughkeepsie. So some nice, comfortable temperatures. Lots of sunshine, low humidities today. Temperatures in the low 80s. Tomorrow, it gets warm, it gets humid. We'll have a thunderstorm in the afternoon and the evening. Then we'll have some hot weather returning on Thursday, and less humid by the weekend.
Coming up, those 30 brothers back in court in front of a judge this morning.
And new surveillance video that Venus Williams crash doesn't exonerate her.
Today, we're out here with some big news about type 2 diabetes.
You have type 2 diabetes, right?
Yes.
So let me ask you this. How does diabetes affect your heart?
It doesn't, does it?
Actually, it does. Type 2 diabetes can